The Chiefs are in a position to make significant upgrades, especially at a few key positions, thanks to the depth of talent available in free agency and the draft this year. If they play their cards right, they could solidify their roster and become even more dangerous. Plus, we have an interesting injury update about Rashee Rice. Let's break this down step by step. What's up, buddies? Welcome back. If you are new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We cover all AFC West news here on this channel. First off, there's some buzz around defensive tackle Jonathan Allen, who was released by the Commanders in a cap-saving move. Even though Allen had a statistically down year due to an injury, he's still a proven player with an impressive track record, averaging 6.5 sacks per season over his 8-year career. Pairing him with Chris Jones could create a dominant interior defensive line for the Chiefs. However, the financials could complicate things. With several defensive tackles hitting free agency and Chris Jones carrying a massive cap hit, Kansas City might struggle to afford Allen. They may lean towards bringing back someone like Tershawn Wharton, who's coming off a career year, or focus on drafting a defensive tackle instead. Speaking of the draft, this year's class is loaded with talent at defensive tackle. Analysts like Daniel Jeremiah have highlighted the depth, and it's likely the Chiefs will take advantage of that. Players like Kenneth Grant or Walter Nolan could be targets if they fall in the draft, but even beyond the first round, there are plenty of solid options like Omar Norman-Lott and Deone Walker. Both bring unique strengths, whether it's relentless energy or sheer size and power. Now, shifting gears to the linebacker situation, there's some uncertainty about Nick Bolton's future. With other linebackers like Terrell Bernard setting the market, Bolton's value is estimated at around $12 million per year. It's unclear if the Chiefs will prioritize keeping him, especially since they have capable replacements like Drew Tranquill and Leo Chenal. The team could opt to draft a younger, faster linebacker to address weaknesses in coverage instead of committing big money to Bolton. As for the defensive end position, Charles Omenihu seems to be heading for free agency based on his recent cryptic tweets. He's a talented player, but injuries and suspensions have limited his impact during his time with the Chiefs. If he leaves, Kansas City will need to explore other options, either through free agency or hoping for development from younger players like Felix Anudike-Uzomah. There's also the question of who they can afford, since top pass rushers often command premium salaries. On the offensive line, the Chiefs made some big moves, including tagging Trey Smith and trading Joe Thuney to the Bears. Rumors suggest they're working on a long-term deal for Smith, which could free up cap space for other free agent moves. The left tackle spot is still up in the air, with names like Ronnie Stanley being floated as potential targets. Stanley would be a solid veteran addition, but his price tag and injury history make it a risky move. The Chiefs also retained a couple of their exclusive rights free agents, including offensive lineman Mike Caliendo and punter Matt Araiza. While Caliendo is fine as a depth piece, Araiza's performance has been inconsistent, particularly with touchbacks. If he remains the team's punter, he'll need to improve his ability to pin opponents deep in their territory. Now, moving to Rashee Rice, the Chiefs recently got an update on him, who appeared on the I Am Athlete podcast to share his goals for the 2025 season. Before diving into what Rice discussed in that interview, it's important to consider some of the challenges he's likely to face in 2025. A couple of years ago, Rashee Rice was involved in a traffic altercation in Dallas. Reports indicate he was drag racing in broad daylight, which caused a few accidents and raised some serious concern. Many NFL fans believed Rice should have been suspended last year since the incident occurred in the summer of 2024. However, the NFL typically waits for the legal process to conclude before issuing any suspension. In Rice's case, that process is still ongoing. Despite these legal challenges, Rice was able to play during the 2024 season, although his campaign was cut short after he suffered a knee injury against the Chargers. Chiefs fans, however, remain optimistic and excited about his potential heading into 2025. Even if Rice faces a suspension of 4 to 6 games, there's hope that he'll deliver a strong performance once fully healthy. When Rashee Rice was on the field in 2024, especially during the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season, he looked like a true number 1 receiver. He took significant strides forward from the previous season and consistently showcased the qualities of a top-tier wideout. Chiefs fans are eager to see how he builds on that progress in the upcoming season. There's definitely reason to be optimistic about Rashee Rice and his role in this offense, but there are still hurdles ahead. The legal situation remains unresolved, a potential suspension is looming, and he's working his way back from a significant injury. However, during his interview, Rice touched on his recovery process, which provides some insight into his journey. Let's dive into an article I came across. This one's from the Wichita Eagle, though it originally appeared in the Kansas City Star. Since the Kansas City Star has a paywall, and no offense, I wasn't trying to pay for that, I found the same article republished on the Wichita Eagle. The article discusses Rashee Rice's goals for the 2025 season following his knee surgery. It recaps how the injury happened, describing it as a freak accident where Patrick Mahomes collided with Rice, resulting in significant damage to his knee. That injury caused him to miss the entire season. During his recent appearance on the I Am Athlete podcast, Hosted by former NFL wide receiver Brandon Marshall, Rice opened up about his recovery. When Marshall asked what he's been up to, Rice explained that he's been spending time in Florida working with his rehab specialist, Dr. Sharif Taba, a physical therapist. Rice has been walking, rehabbing, and even getting in some practice reps on his own. According to reports, he's progressing well. On the podcast, Rice also spoke about how the injury impacted him mentally. He admitted saying, especially just seeing guys like Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, and all my guys out there being able to ball. We had training camp, and training camp was a glimpse of what we knew was going to happen for the rest of the season. So, it took a toll on me mentally, but the best thing I could do was to continue to surround myself with those guys and just be around the program as much as I can to keep my mind clear. It's worth noting how much emphasis Rice put on keeping his mind clear. Staying connected with his teammates in the program seems to have been a big part of his recovery process. Not only has Rashee Rice been focused on rehabbing his injury, but he's also had to deal with the legal issue still looming over him. Being at the Chiefs facility every day during the season, despite being sidelined, provided Rice with a mental escape. It gave him the chance to be around his teammates and temporarily shift his focus away from everything else happening in his life. This was the first time Rice faced an injury in his NFL career, which was a significant setback on its own. On top of that, he was dealing with the aftermath of the Dallas drag racing incident, which had already caused enough turmoil. The combination of these challenges would have been overwhelming for anyone, so it's easy to see why staying connected with his teammates was so important for him to keep his mind clear. The article notes that Rashee Rice finished the season with 24 receptions for 288 yards and 2 touchdowns before his injury. Based on the pace he was on, Rice could have finished the season with around 136 receptions, 1,632 receiving yards, and 11 touchdowns. That kind of production speaks volumes about how much he had grown in his connection with Patrick Mahomes. It's clear that Rice was on track to become the top receiving option in this offense. It wouldn't have been Xavier Worthy or Hollywood Brown. It was going to be Rashee Rice. Unfortunately, his injury derailed those plans, leaving the Chiefs to adjust without him. Looking ahead, there's plenty of reason to be excited about what Rice can achieve. The potential is undeniable. He has the talent to become a true #1 wide receiver in this system. With Patrick Mahomes throwing him the football, the sky really is the limit. We've already seen significant growth from Rice between his rookie season and his second year, and it's hard not to imagine what he'll do next once fully healthy. Rashee Rice really took that next step forward, even in the limited time he was on the field. As I mentioned earlier, he racked up 288 yards and 2 touchdowns in just 3 or 4 games before his injury cut the season short. That kind of production in such a small sample size shows just how impactful he was becoming. Looking ahead, there's a lot of excitement about what Rice can do once he's back, even if he has to serve a potential suspension. Mentally, though, it's clear that he's still working through his recovery process. The practice videos of him getting reps in are encouraging, but the key question is whether he can keep making strides in his physical and mental recovery. If he can, we might see him back on the field sooner rather than later. Finally, a quick note on AFC West news. The Seahawks are trading Geno Smith to the Raiders for a 2025 third-round pick, which is a surprising move and could shake things up in the division. It's going to be interesting to see how all of this unfolds as teams continue to build their rosters for the upcoming season. I will cover this news in detail in tomorrow's video. So the Chiefs have a lot of decisions to make, and the next few weeks will be critical in shaping their team for 2025. Let's see how it all plays out. So guys, what do you think? Share your thoughts in the comment section.